Okay, lesson 1.7 is to add and subtract fractions with the same denominator. So to do that is we keep the denominator the same, and then we just perform the operation with the numerator. So that is my terrible job of indicating that with that bubble. So we have, let me highlight this, 2 plus 7, which is 9, and then 9 minus 4 is 5, so my final result is going to be 5. 5/3. Keep the denominator the same. Okay, moving on, the next one, I know the denominator is going to be 5, so you can write that in if you like. Negative 3 plus 4 is positive 1. Positive 1 minus 2 is negative 1. You can write your answer like that, or you can pull the negative to the front or the middle, however you want to see it. And the other way is to put the negative in the denominator with the 5, but I personally don't. But these two, I would say, are the most widely accepted ways to write that. Okay, at this point, you should pause the video and try these two examples to see that you can do it. I'm going to move forward. 3 plus 5 is 8. 8 plus a negative 5 is 3, so the answer is 3/7. And then I have negative 2 minus negative 5, which is a 3. 3 plus 3 is 6, so this is 6/9. This example, once we find out we combine the numerators the way we did, this actually isn't our final answer because I have to reduce. I'm going to reduce by 3 to get 2/3. Always reduce / simplify all answers. Okay, the next lesson is adding and subtracting with different denominators. So we can't do this like we were doing in lesson 1.7. What we have to do is find a common denominator, and that means a denominator that both the old denominators go into. So this is my old denominators, 6 and 7, and I need to find a number that both of them go into, and in this case, it's 42. So I'm going to write this as my new denominators. So these are the old ones. All right, so let me erase my little markings here. All right, so what we have to do now is we have to figure out what multiplied the first old denominator to get the new one. So 6 times 7 gives me 42. And because I multiplied the denominator by 7, I'm also going to multiply the numerator by 7. And 5 times 7 will become 35. You can't just write 5 up on top. You can't copy the old one because we found an LCM, at least common multiple, so we have to make sure both numbers change. Okay, so the next one, I'm going to use a different color. So this is my old denominator, 7. 7 times what will give me this new one, and that's going to be 6. So I'm going to put a little times 6 here. That means I have to multiply the 2 also by 6. 2 times 6 is 12. So now I'm going to erase these underline marks because that was just to emphasize what I was working on. Okay, so now this is like lesson 1.7 where I can just combine the numerators, and that's going to be 47/42. You may have noticed that I've been leaving my answers as improper fractions. Improper fraction is when the number on top is bigger than the bottom. I know you were taught in elementary school to change improper fractions into mixed numbers. We don't do that in Algebra 1. It's actually not a necessary step, and actually I wouldn't recommend doing it. So leave your answers as improper fractions. However, you must reduce if you can, and in this case we can't reduce. Okay, so the common denominator here is 12. 3 times 4 is going to get me 12, so I'm going to need to multiply this 2 by 4 as well. 2 times 4 is 8. 4 times 3 will give me a 12, so I have to multiply this 5 by 3. 5 times 3 is 15. 8 minus 15 is -7, so my answer is -7/12. Okay, you can try these next problems yourselves. I'm going to continue on. So the common, here we have 3 denominators. You do it the same way as before. I need to find a common denominator for all 3. And in this case, it's going to be 14. 7 times 2 is 14, so I'm going to multiply the 3 by 2, which is 6. 14 times 1 is 14, multiplied by 5 by 1, which is 5. And 2 times 7 is 14, so 1 times 7 is 7. And then this one is 6 minus 5 is 1, 1 plus 7 is 8, 8 over 14, reduced by 2, and you get 4 over 7. Notice, take my highlighter here, the second fraction didn't change, and that is because we multiplied by 1, and the denominator 14 was the LCM. So the only time it doesn't change is this case, where if the denominator is the LCM, then it's going to stay the same. And that's because we multiply it by 1. So that's not going to affect the number itself. Okay, moving on. The common denominator here is 18. Okay, so this is multiplied by 2, so that's going to be 4. This is multiplied by 6, so that's going to be negative 12. And then this is multiplied by 3, and that's 15. So negative 4 minus a negative 12, that's going to be 8. And then 8 plus 15 is a 23. So it's 23 over 18. Just a quick note. Let's say you had, I don't know, I'm just making this up, 1/4 plus 1/6. Now, LCM, the L stands for least. Least means the smallest common number between the two. Here I would use 12. So I'm just showing you what, I've been doing for the past couple of problems, and that's 5 over 12. Now, some people, when they see this problem, they won't use 12, they'll use 24. There's nothing wrong with this, you just get more work, and you'll see in a moment, my numbers will get bigger, which we don't like, but it's not impossible, and then I get 10 over 24, and then I have to reduce by 2, to get 5 over 12. So the moral of the story is you want to use the LCM, which is the least common multiple. If you end up using a higher number but it still works, you have to remember to reduce your final answer. So that's just a quick note on if you don't use the LCM, which I don't recommend doing. Always use the LCM. Makes your work and life a little easier. Okay, lesson 1.9, we have complex fractions, so it looks a little intimidating. So I'm going to do my famous side work. So in my side work, I'm going to put a box around it so you can see this is the first item I'm dealing with. I have 9 halves divided by 9 over 1. If you remember in our previous lessons, my first lesson video on 1.1 to 1.6, we've dealt with complex fractions. So if you have trouble with that part, please review those notes. So I'm going to change this division to multiplication and then the reciprocal. And I'm going to reduce the 9s by 9, and I'm left with 1/2. So this first fraction, the first complex fraction, becomes a half. Then I'm going to bring down the minus sign. And then I got this box now I have to deal with. So off to the side, I'm going to write 4 over 1 divided by negative 1/2. I know my final answer is going to be negative, so I'm going to put a negative sign here so I can ignore the sign. So 4 over 1 times 2 over 1, which is 8. And then don't forget the negative sign, negative 8. So this becomes negative 8. So now I have 1/2 plus 8. And there are 2 ways you can do this. You can find a common denominator if you want, but I like to make my life easier. I know 1/2 plus 8 is very easy in math. It's just going to be 8.5. And that's my final answer. If you do it the other way, I'll show it right here. Common denominator will be 2. multiply this by 2, and I'll get 17 over 2. So remember I said like we don't use mixed numbers in this course. If you have like a calculation that gives you a mixed number very easily, that makes your life easier, which is this example right here, you can just jump right to the 8.5. But if you want to be consistent with before and have 17 over 2 be your final answer, that's totally fine too. But this way that I'm starting right now, it's just so easy to just kind of smush these two guys together to get your 8.5. And by the way, 17 over 2 is the same as 8.5. But like I said before, if you end up with an improper fraction, you don't need to change it to a mixed number. But again, this example right here, it was just so easy to get the final answer by smushing the two values together to get 8.5. Hopefully that was clear. Okay, so we got quite a bit of stuff going on here. So what I'm going to do is I need to figure out this part here first. So in my, hold on, this guy right here first. So in my side work, I'm going to write 1 over 1 plus 1/3. Common denominator is 3. So that's going to be 4 over 3. So now this will be negative 7 over 3 divided by 4 over 3 plus, and then I need to figure out this guy, 2 over 1 minus 1 over 3, common denominator is 3, 6, 1, so this is 5 over 3. So this will be 5 over 3 over 2 over 3. So that was my first step to make sure I took care of the 1 plus 1/3 and 2 minus 1/3 first. And now I'm going to do my side work here on the left side, and I'm going to figure out this first complex fraction just like we did in the previous example. Negative 7/3 divided by 4/3. That's going to be negative 7 over 3 times 3 over 4. You can bring over the negative or keep it, drag it along. It's up to you. I kind of do both whenever I feel comfortable doing it. So this is negative. So the 3's divide out, and I have negative 7 over 4. So this is going to be negative 7 over 4 plus whatever this right thing is. So the right thing is going to be 5/3 divided by 2/3, which is 5 over 3 times 3 over 2. 3's divide out, and you get 5 over 2. So it's 5 over 2. Okay, so my last step is to find a common denominator. And this is going to be times 2, which is 10. And that's going to be 3 over 4. Okay, so this problem added an extra layer of steps that we needed to do in this first set of side work that I did at the beginning of the problem. Okay, so I know fractions isn't everybody's cup of tea, but I highly encourage you to pause this video and try these two problems, as intimidating as it may look. So yes, please try. Okay, so I'm going to do this guy first, this 1/3 times 6. So my side work, I have 1/3 times 6 over 1. So that's going to become a 2. So this will be 3/4 plus 1/2 divided by 2 minus 1/6. Now I'm going to figure out what this guy is. 1/2 divided by 2 over 1, which is 1/2 times 1 over 2, which is 1/4. So I have 3/4 plus 1/4 minus 1/6. So now I'm going to find a common denominator, which is 12. And this will be 9, this will be 3, and this will be 2. 9 plus 3 is 12. 12 minus 2 is 10. 10 over 12 reduces to 5 over 6. Alright, taking a look at this one. Luckily for us, these two parts are the same. So once I find out what it is in the side work, I can just copy it for both. So 1 over 1 plus 1/2, common denominator is 2. That's going to be 3 over 2. So I have 1 plus 1 over 3 over 2 minus 3 over 2 divided by 2. Alright, so in my side work, I'm going to figure out this guy right here. I have 1 divided by 3 over 2, which is 1 over 1 times 2/3, which is 2/3. This is 1 plus 2/3 minus. I'm going to put my side work over here, running out of room. So 3 over 2 divided by 2 over 1, which is 3 over 2 times 1 over 2. And that's going to be 3/4, minus 3/4. So I'm going to put this 1 over 1. The common denominator will be 12 again. So this is going to be 12. This will be 8. And this will be 9. So 12 plus 8 is 20. 20 minus 9 is 11 over 12.